You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes. Episode 157. 157 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live. I can't believe it. Without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Vault. Shield, you staying cool out there or what?
No, I'm sweating. I'm hot. It's miserable. I got this guy. It's helping a little bit, but overall, it could be a lot cooler out. I don't know how we go from near cataclysmic storms at 2-3 o'clock in the morning to, sunny and 1,000 degrees in the shade. I don't know how that happens. I don't know what weather phenomena presents that, but you know what? We're going to try our best here and stay cool in a couple different ways. I'll certainly try it tonight.
Well, that's good. The main thing is having a fan on you. The good news is being in a basement down here is nice. I don't have to worry about much heat. Nice and cool. What y'all take and whatnot. But there's a lot to get to today. Twins. We got Vikings. Infinity Rankings returns. Yes, I am looking forward to that. I will say there's a surprise in there. I will add with that, there is a surprise in there that people will be like looking at it like, what? But I will explain. There's no worries. I will explain the deal on that. But to the big news at hand, if you have been tuning in to the socials, medias, MinneZona Sports Live, I'm taking it on the road. We are going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Check that out. Yes. The call to the hall. A vlog is coming your way as well. And it's going to be legit. I mean, we're going to have a lot of fun with it. I can't wait to get going with it. And, it's just going to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I mean, honestly, I don't know if this is something that I've never done before, but it's been on the bucket list, and Papa Callahan will be attending with me as well, so make sure you keep up to date on the social medias where I'm at, and I will be working on a vlog after my time is done in Cleveland / Canton / maybe even Cincinnati. We might even check that out too, so keep your eyes peeled to the social media. So let's go. I'm stoked, man. I can't wait. Early flight, but we'll make it happen. Easy A throws claps out. Thank you, Easy A. Yeah. So anyway, with that being said, we got a couple things to talk about before I head out on this journey. The Twins have made a move already before the trade deadline. We'll be talking about that. If there's any more moves coming their way, we'll see. And then we are hitting on the training camp. The Vikings started up today in this hot weather, for one. And we'll be talking about I don't know if it might be the B topic, we'll see. But that wide receiver 2 position, very interesting. No Adam Thielen, obviously. You have Kjosborn, Jordan Who are you taking for that WR2 position? So we'll be thinking about that. And then tonight, it's Infinity Rankings, man. It's time. It's been since April. I looked it up. It's been since April. So we gotta. It's a long time, Voldy. But the good news is that it's raring to go. We're feeling good about it, and we'll see what you guys think of the rankings. I'm pretty excited for that. So, all right, let's get it going then. I say with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. We're starting off with our Minnesota Twins, like I mentioned before. The trade deadline is approaching. The Twins have already made a deal. And again, it's for pitching, which you can never have enough of, like we said before. The Twins trade Jorge Lopez, who they got at the trade deadline last season to be a reliever. Trade him to the Miami Marlins for Dylan Floro. I think there was a prospect involved, or no, maybe it was. I can't even tell. But I believe that this was on the Twins' radar to trade Lopez. It seems like he just really never fit into his role as much as the Twins would have liked. And it seems like the Twins going after a different relief pitcher at this point in time. It doesn't seem like this is a big splash by any means. Floro has struggled a little bit too. He has a 4.54 ERA. Isn't dazzling, but maybe they can work with him. Who knows? So we'll keep our eye on him and see what he does for our Minnesota Twins. But Voldy, what are your thoughts? Zoners, what are your thoughts on the deal from the Twins?
Yeah, I think just the one thing I think the Twins were looking at just finding any way that they could get rid of Lopez, I think, to at least have something in the back end of the bullpen in the hopes that they'll get some help here coming up in the next couple of weeks with August just around the corner with Brock Stewart. Caleb Fieldbar is supposed to be back in the mix in the bullpen here as the calendar is supposed to switch into August too. I just really think that the trade overall, they're sending him back to where they got him in the first place with Jorge Lopez, just really didn't work out all that well. So they're really hoping that this time they can at least get somebody that's, has a little bit of some help, brings that foot fastball that does sit kind of in the low 90s as well with a sinker and does have the slider in his repertoire, which will help out, especially with, what has got them so far with that Twins bullpen. And he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, so you're not going to be eating up a whole lot of contract to begin with. So you're just basically getting him on a tryout basis here for these next few months.
Yep, and I hope by this time next week or so they're able to add more, because the bats have come alive now ever since the All-Star break. And there's starting to be some good baseball being played, but the pitching, it's starting to dip a little bit. Joe Ryan obviously didn't have the best outing today, with the Twins losing 8-7. I'm glad I wasn't at Target Field today. I can tell you that much. But yeah, like you said, Thielbar coming back, I think should help bolster the bullpen. The thing is, it's always been the bullpen. It's this, starting pitching sometimes too, but it's just like you get out of one thing and then you go into another. But he with Lopez, I want to add too. He dealt with some mental health stuff here with the Twins as well, and obviously we wish him well in the future and whatnot. But I just think right now, it's if it's just not working out, then you make a trade. You get a guy in here that can maybe do something, and hopefully he does well back in Miami. But like we said, I think you just got to keep adding at this point. So with that being said, Voldy, there's some names that have been thrown out there, and this is, we say this every year. We say, well, maybe they'll do something this year. Maybe they'll make a splash. Maybe. Maybe seems more like no at this point. Obviously
I think we have a higher chance of getting Kate Upton to come on the show than the Twins.
That's
and making some serious moves at the deadline. So,
hey, if Verlander ends up being on the Twins, I think we got a better shot. But we'll see. But here's some big names. Obviously, we all know they're probably not going to get. Ohtani, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Juan Soto. That's probably out of the realm of possibility here, even though it would bolster that lineup immensely. Here's a name that I feel like would help in this instance, and I was looking at this yesterday while getting ready for stories and whatnot. Teoscar Hernandez. He looks like he can make an impact here. He's good against left-handed pitching, which the Twins desperately need to improve on, and whatnot. They're playing Seattle right now. They could be like, hey, maybe we make a deal here. Just switch benches. Call it good. Voldy, what are your thoughts on Hernandez? Is that a guy that probably would be a P.O.D approved trade, or what do you think?
I would certainly hope so, because of the fact over the last handful of years, the Twins have had so many really good left-handed prospects in their lineup, all these guys that are coming up, and I've had multiple conversations with people about it. The one thing that they don't have, and they haven't had for a while, is right-handed hitters, is right-handed, power hitters. I think Nelson Cruz was probably the last guy.
That's a good point.
That proven right-handed hitting, out. I mean, you could put him in the outfield, but he is going to be a DH 9 times out of 10 with the Twins too. But the right-handed hitting has been sorely lacking in the Twins lineup for a number of years, and Teoscar Hernandez would fill in a nice position right there. Does do a good amount of damage for left-handed pitching, especially a guy that's going to be a free agent by the end of the season. I think the Mariners, who are in kind of a flux position right now, whether they want to make that next step up in the AL West and maybe look a little bit further, they're going to want maybe a couple of prospects for Hernandez's services for the rest of the season too. But I'm also looking at another option too, especially the Angels are going to be selling. It's going to be your discount Mike Trout and Hunter Renfroe. I think he is going to be I think he is a much more attractive piece for the Twins, considering the fact that he is, a couple of years ago, he did pretty well for the Red Sox, and then he goes out to LA, and the Angels have done what the Angels have done, which is basically nothing other than have the Shohei show. That's about it. But either one of those guys with Hernandez or Renfroe would be a really nice piece for this Twins lineup to really kind of bring things together, especially the fact that they have so many left-handed hitters, and especially in the outfield too. Really need to break up that lineup a little bit more and have some right-handed power in that lineup.
No kidding. And it's something that they desperately need. I mean, when you have guys that are hitting, Joey Gallo, I think, has been starting to, pick it up a little bit, but Buxton still struggling, which concerns me. Correa's been better. Kepler's actually been tuning it up a notch, and that's a name to watch out for coming up with the trade deadline if the Twins are able to get something in return for him. So there's a couple of options for the Twins. Obviously, there's some relief arms that they could add as well. David Robertson from the Mets, as this article puts down, which I think any relief pitcher, it's kind of like a to be determined. We'll see what happens. There's not a whole lot that we can say. It's like, oh, this guy's just great. It's what a great pickup. I guess we'll see. That's just kind of the main thing. Is we're gonna have to see how things pan out if they do get more relief pitching, because you never know. So, with the deadline coming up, we'll keep you up to date on everything with the MLB. And I think we got some coming up with ARA as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, we'll keep you posted on that. All right, let's look into our Minnesota Vikings. They are in training camp right now. They had their practice today in the heat. It's sweating bullets and all that stuff. Voldy, I think this is the big question that people have talked about ever since the draft. Ever since the draft, since Adam Thielen left too. I feel like more so now since training camp is heated up. But the wide receiver 2 position is intriguing. You draft Jordan-Addison in the first round. We all know what happened with his little speeding excursion that he had. We'll talk about that in a second too. But so far, people aren't sure. You could go with kjosborn because KJ was clutch in clutch moments this past season. I believe that he's kind of earned that right, but at the same time, when you have a guy like Addison that is healthy and obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed, stays out of trouble, that's the big question. Who is going to fill that spot right there? And, I know this is just the beginning of training camp. We're going to be seeing, how things go. We'll probably be getting updates on the social medias on where things are at with that position. But, Voldy, right now, I'd say you give the edge to KJ right now just because of what you saw in previous years. But I also know that I'm not saying that he could be in the mix, but Jalen Naylor, he's been very, very good this offseason as well. So, not saying that he's going to go into that wide receiver 2 position, but there's a lot of competition there. But I'm giving KJ the slight edge for now, but I think Addison eventually will take over that number 2 at some point. But, Voldy, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I right off the bat, you got to get the edge to KJ just because you've given him the time to develop and given him the ability to learn the playbook, get comfortable in the system, and let him build his game from there. Because right off the bat, I mean, when he came to the Vikings, he was supposed to be the return guy and, and maybe work his way up the depth chart as a receiver. Well, the returning didn't really work out so well for him, and ended up just sticking to the wide receiver specialty that obviously he brings to the team too. And now it's starting to pay dividends. Now you put him at that number 2 receiver spot, and then you let Addison, work his way up the depth chart as well. And with Jalen Naylor, a very similar situation too. Maybe a return guy, maybe a guy just to work his way up the depth chart. And maybe in a couple of years, we'll be in the same situation that, we're at right now with okay, KJ was number 2. Now we got to see who we have. Do we put Addison there? Do we put Jalen Naylor there? We would certainly hope that it would be the same situation with even greater success for the Vikings than in most recent years as well. I think you give it to KJ right off the bat just because obviously he's the veteran in the locker room. We all know that Justin Jefferson's the number 1 there, but you got to have at least something there too at that 2 spot, because we can't forget as well, because we've got the tight ends as well to throw in the mix as well with TJ Hawkinson, Johnny Munton there as well. I think Irv is still on the team. Is Irv Smith
Nope,
still
he's with the Bengals.
Remember or not? It's been pretty quiet on that. Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I thought. So stand corrected on that. So you got
you're good.
Those 2 guys in there, at least in the receiving side of everything too. So at least having those first 2 wide receivers figured out to let that third spot really work its way and kind of be a third wide receiver by committee, if you will.
Right, and I feel like the only way that we're gonna see how this will all pan out is week 1. The first snaps and whatnot, and from what I've seen from the highlights of training camp, and I know it's just highlights, and I think people overhype some guys sometimes. It's like Garrett Wilson had a nice catch with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. It's like, well, this isn't a real game. These guys aren't even in pads and whatnot. I mean, this is just but. Kirk, it seems like Kirk and Addison, there was a nice connection between Kirk and Jordan Addison. So maybe, possibly, that is an option there, just to have Jordan Addison kind of. I mean, if he just takes off, I just say you let him. You just go right ahead. But KJ, I feel, has earned that spot. I mean, that Lions game at home, I think it was week 3 or whatever it was, he came out and played really well. And he got the go-ahead touchdown. He was able to consistently be kind of that guy in clutch moments. And obviously people are zoned in on, pun intended, on JJ. And it's one of those things where, hey, you only benefit. Now you have 3 guys. You know what? Not only 3. You have 4 guys. You add Hawkinson to that as well. I mean, this offense looks really good, and I'll get into that with Infinity rankings as well. This team looks good. Obviously, the biggest question is, what's the defense going to do? Well, I will say it can't get any worse. It just can't, and it's that simple. But for the people that are thinking about that wide receiver 2 position, I'm going to give KJ the edge for now. But I feel like Addison, I feel like Addison at some point will take that over because he is very talented. We just need him to stay healthy. We need him to stay healthy because he had some injury stuff in college. And don't do stupid stuff off the field. That's all we get. That's all we care about. We don't want you to get hurt. Even if it's 140 miles per hour. I mean, come on. There's places you can do that, right? It's just kind of like man. Sometimes you just shake your head. But with that being said, our zoners chiming in here. Doesn't make sense to get rid of a pitcher for a pitcher in my eyes. Well, it's true. I get what you're saying there, but then again, this is the Twins we're talking about here, so it doesn't surprise us.
Logic makes no sense.
Yeah. Can our defense get worse? LOL, nailed it. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think it can get any worse. Flores, I think, is a guy that's definitely seasoned. He's been coaching a long time and coached some pretty good defenses. Voldy would know. With the New England Patriots, too. So, dog had to poop was an emergency. Well, was the dog in the car? Is that confirmed?
I hope not.
Or was he at home? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Anywho, just 140 miles per hour. You could hurt somebody, obviously. We don't want that to happen.
Yep.
So, but I think eventually he will take over in that wide receiver 2 position there behind JJ, and it's going to look pretty lethal. I'll say that. All right, without further ado, that'll do it for Tater Tot Hot Take this week. We're getting back to Infinity rankings, and I've just been seeing in the zoners, I've been seeing a lot of hype on certain teams. And I feel like we're overhyping a lot of these teams. And it's not to say that they're not going to do, I'm not saying they're not going to do well or anything like that, but we're panning out some teams to be they're going to be a juggernaut. They're going to be so good this year. Oh my gosh, they're going to be so, it's like, can we just take a second and just relax? I'm going to give out my Infinity rankings for this week. We haven't done this since April, and we got to do it because you got to have the gauntlet, you got to have it ready. There's 6 Infinity teams, and you're really gonna like the way we do this for this week, and who I have so far ranked 1 through 6. So without further ado, it is time for some Infinity rankings.
While many have power rankings, none have captured them all. It's time for Matty C's Infinity Rankings.
All right. The gauntlet's on. It's time to reveal those top 6 teams. Now, there's a surprise in there. And I don't think it's too far-fetched. I really don't. Okay? I don't think it's too far-fetched, but I almost feel like people will be kind of like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So before we reveal that, all 3 will want at least 100 mil contracts, and the P.O.Ds won't do that.
Probably not.
Probably not. It's probably how things will go there. So to be determined on that front. All right, let's reveal it because it just needs to. Boom! There it is. This is my 6 teams who I've got so far. Now, let's start off with the obvious one. We just talked about them, our Minnesota Vikings. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, why don't you have the Jets up there? You could, the Ravens, oh, the Dolphins. Like, what are you doing, Matty C? It's like, listen. This Minnesota Vikings team went, what was their record, Voldy, if I'm not mistaken? Was it 13-4, right?
Yep.
13-4. They went 13-4 with one of the worst defenses in the league.
No respect.
No respect. They also came back. They had the biggest comeback in the league, by the way.
Ever.
this offense is stacked, no matter how you put it. Even losing Dalvin Cook, even getting rid of guys like Zadarius Smith, even losing Adam Thielen, our guy.
Eric Kendricks, thank you. Even Eric Kendricks. And, I don't know if it doesn't seem like they're going to get rid of Danielle Hunter since he did report to camp. But, I mean, you add a guy like Flores. I don't even really need to talk about the offense. This offense can compete with any team in the NFL. Any team in the NFL, this offense can compete with. Kirk Cousins, and it's just like, oh, it's because of that documentary you saw. No, it's not. It actually isn't. And it's just showing what we have. And while the interior, that's the interior offensive line, that's a problem. It always is.
It always is. But you know what? They were able to, find ways to avoid that, even though, the Giants with Dexter Lawrence, I think you got to have a better game plan in blocking him. And that's why they pretty much lost that game, because of defense. So you add Brian Flores, and it can't get any worse. Like we said, it can't get any worse. And if it does, well, then we made a big mistake. But I think Flores knows what he's doing. I feel like they have been able to kind of, pick and choose who they have. Maybe this is going to take more than just this upcoming season. It might take a season after this in order to kind of hone in on this defense. But if Flores can bring them to at least, let's just say their ceiling is top 15. If they get to they're the 15th best defense in the league, you're in good shape. You have literally a top 5 offense, top 3 if you really want to go that far, with Justin Jefferson and with Alexander Madison, Hawkinson, Addison. I mean, so many sons. It's crazy. So that's why I have them at 6. I believe that they are going to show people, hey, you know what? We're still here. We're still here. Everyone's hyping up the Lions. Everyone's thinking the Lions are going to be just amazing and everything like that. Well, they just got rid of 2 of their running backs. One of their running backs had the most touchdowns by a running back. So there's that. Oh, Jameson Williams, too, we mentioned with Mitch a couple weeks ago. He's suspended. So there's a lot to factor in with the Lions, too. And their defense wasn't good as well. So that's why we have the Vikings at 6. And call me a homer, fine. I don't care. But I'm putting them at 6. I believe they deserve to be there. Well, what about the Giants? Well, Daniel Jones. That's all I got to say. That is literally all I have to say about that.
Literally.
That's it. So, all right, let's move on to the other teams here. But number 5, the 49ers. And I always feel like they're always on this, on my rankings, and they have it. It's just there's just this one thing that's just kind of been biting them in the butt a little bit. They don't have the quarterback to take them over that hump. Now, it's like, well, Brock Purdy got hurt in the NFC Championship. Still, I mean, there's got to be a downturn with him. Not saying that it's bad. Jimmy Garoppolo, well, you should have. Well, I'm glad they got rid of Garoppolo. No, he got you to a Super Bowl, so there's that.
Good.
And they've been in the playoffs almost every year since, 2020, 2021, whatever it's been. So
as long as Shanahan's been there, they've been in the playoffs.
Right. Exactly. And, obviously they had bad breaks with injuries and whatnot, but George Kittle, he does it all. He can catch, he can block. The guy's an all-around just baller. The only thing that's hindering him is the quarterback position. Now, it's like, well, weren't they in the running with Rodgers? Weren't they in the – it's like, well, they don't know what to do with Trey Lance, and apparently they're trying to kind of get him back up to speed to being that top pick that they have. So I'm hoping Trey really does well with with the Niners and whatnot, and hopefully he can come into his own there. But there's some competition there. I mean, not saying that I just can't see Sam Darnold being their guy for I pretty much had enough with Darnold.
If Sam Darnold has success with the 49ers, that means that entire offensive unit is like the most easiest NFL offense you can run. Then it just means that any Joe bag of donuts could go into the Niners locker room and run the offense under Shanahan.
No kidding. So I have them at 5. Their defense is just a bunch of studs too. So number 4, the Buffalo Bills. Now, this one was tough to me. And the reason why this one has been kind of tough for me is because there's something about the Bills. Everyone's saying this is the year. They're going to get over that hump. Everyone's been talking about it.
Yep.
Well, you have trouble in paradise now. And people know who I'm talking about when I say trouble in paradise. Stephon Diggs. It's like, well, things are good with Diggs and the Bills right now. Are they? Are you just saying that so you don't have a media frenzy going on? So I'm not saying that's the sole reason, but I believe that this is one of the reasons why they have had some issues. And it's not only that, but also Josh Allen can't be your leading rusher the whole time. I know your offense is, pass first, have Josh Allen, make up plays as he goes and whatnot. But you also have to have a running game. I mean, Mahomes and the Chiefs right now, they have that with Pacheco. And I just feel like, and I'm not saying that they won't be good or anything, I think you're going to see a little bit of a drop from the Buffalo Bills. And when you see that drop happening, I think Diggsy's going to try to force his way out. And it's just going to be some controversy. I hope that I hope they prove me wrong. Maybe they will. But at the same time, I feel like there's some trouble in paradise in Buffalo. So we'll see how long that lasts. But number 3, I have the Bengals. This one was quite easy, actually. I feel like they have earned the right to be one of the top teams in the NFL. And the young core that they have and what they have been able to do with Joe Burrow, with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins, with Tyler Boyd. They add Irv Smith, too. I mean, maybe this is a better fit for Irv Smith at the tight end position there. But this team is good. Joe Mixon, I mean, he's been on a tear these past couple seasons. I believe that'll continue, and I think, Joe Burrow just has that it factor. They came up short against the Chiefs. But the thing is, you're always in it when you have Joey B. And he's proven that he's that guy. And I think if you're Cincinnati, you're feeling good about this upcoming year. And I like their defense. I think they've got like DJ Reader, I think, has been a beast for them in the middle there. Their linebacking core is pretty solid. Their secondary, I think, has some questions there. I believe Eli Apple's still around there. Awuzie has been okay. But I think, it's always, I feel like it's the Bengals and the Bengals, Bills, and Chiefs. I mean, you never know with those teams. So that's what I got there. Number 2, the Eagles. And I believe that they are the best team in the NFC. Jalen Hurts, obviously, with that new deal. They added, like, literally every Georgia Bulldog in the draft, apparently. So they're going to be pretty good. Not saying that, they'll just be like the greatest, draft class ever. Maybe they will. I don't know. But they've done a really good job. Their defense is pretty put together. Darius Slay was going to leave. Now he's back. So there's a lot to add with that. But I think the Eagles are definitely the tops until someone kind of overcomes them. I mean, you look at the 49ers, it might take some doing, but I think they're going to be, I think that they could give them a run for their money. But the Eagles are tops in the NFC. Number 1, the Chiefs. I mean, there's really nothing much else to say. The defending champs. Yes, Chris Jones is having a contract issues with the Chiefs, not being at training camp. Still not there? Is that confirmed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, but the fact that they're still talking about it, and I mean, that's at least a sign that hopefully things are moving in the right direction for them.
Yeah. So we got that as well, but I just think I believe the Bengals are very close to kind of overcoming them, but when you have 15 back there, it's it's tough. But defensively, they're pretty solid. Pacheco, I think, we're just going to run the ball really well. Apparently, Kadarius Toney is just going to be a monster this year, from what they've been saying a lot. So, Travis Kelce, same old deal. So, those are my 6. And zoners, please let us know your thoughts in the comments. The big surprise is up there, but at the same time, I don't think it surprises many people. But if you say I'm taking the Homer approach, fine. I believe that they deserve to be respected still. So national media will say they should be like 23 or something like that. No, they're not 23. I still think they're a top team.
They are
in the NFL and in the NFC to add on to
Kirk Cousins is a top 10 NFL quarterback right now. I don't care what anybody says.
You said it. All right, Voldy, what do you think?
The only disagreement I would have on there is that we don't put the Vikings at number 5.
Ooh.
And I'm going to say we take the Niners out, and I'm going to put at number 6. I'm going to put the Ravens at number 6.
Okay.
I like what the Ravens are going to be bringing back here this year, too. Obviously, the whole contract situation with Lamar, that's been solved. You did lose a couple of pieces on the defensive side, but overall, you do have Roquan Smith back. He signed that deal coming up here, too. And, you do have another year with this offense that's continuing to gel. I mean, you got Odell in the receiver room now as well. That's going to take pressure off, Mark Andrews. That's going to take pressure off, Duvernay. That's going to take some off Hollywood Brown as well. That's going to be opening up a lot more opportunities, especially, because that, especially early on, they're going to try and get the ball to Odell as much as possible. Mixing in the running game as well. Obviously, Lamar will get some runs in there as well. J.K. Dobbins in the mix there too. Defensively, they did lose Marcus Peters. That's going to be a bit of a hurt there for them. But overall, they still have a good enough core set of guys on both sides of the ball that, they're kind of looking at kind of like the forgotten man in the AFC North right now. And literally, I think that the AFC North is certainly a division we got to keep our eyes on here because they're on the up and up right now, especially with, obviously you've got the Bengals. The Steelers are looking maybe not as interesting as everybody else, but they're certainly in the mix. You've got the Ravens, and then, that team in Cleveland will probably figure something out at some point. I mean, they still have Deshaun for another, 27 years at this rate with their big multi-million-dollar contract that they invested in him. That's certainly where I would put them and definitely throw the Ravens in the mix as well. Chiefs at the top, followed by the Eagles, the Bills, and then the Bengals. That's where I have the most trouble kind of flipping back and forth. I honestly would put the Bills at 3, the Bengals at 4. Mostly because I think the Bills coming back, you got a Von Miller back after tearing his ACL. I think if the Bills don't lose Von Miller in that Vikings game, I think they make a serious run, if not all the way to the Super Bowl. I think they find a way to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs in that AFC Championship. I really think he's a difference maker because a lot of guys keep their eyes set on Von Miller. And then on the other side, here comes Ed Oliver off the other side of the rush too. Yep. Or, you double team him. He still finds a way to cause havoc, force the quarterback up. Guys throw interceptions. You got Jordan Poyer in the back end with, on the defensive backfield too. Linebackers looking very studly as well for those Bills in the most recent years too. I really put the Bills at third. Unfortunately, the running game did take a bit of a hit. Naeem Hines apparently is going to be out for the year, too, with another knee injury. That hurts them in the running game as well as the return game as well. But you do have, Dalvin's little brother and James Cook as well, who's going to be making his going to be in his second season, so he's going to have to step up too. I think Singleton is still there as well for the Bills too, and that receiving core is unchanged after another year with Josh Allen. So more and more comfortability with each other is going to hopefully pay dividends, and especially a very stacked AFC East. So that's where I would put. I'd put Ravens, Vikings at 5. I put the Bengals at 4, with the Bills at 3, Eagles, and then Chiefs. That's where I'd put for my rankings there.
Just enough to make you think, and the Ravens were definitely up there. Like, I mean, if there were 7 Infinity Stones, I'd probably put them at 7. But I don't think you need to. I don't think anyone can count out Baltimore at this point. I mean, they've added a lot and whatnot, and they have a new offensive coordinator. Greg Roman is out too, so maybe the change of pace will be something that they needed. So, with that being said, that'll do it for Infinity Rankings. Take a look. Let us know. Let us know if you agree, disagree, what you would change. We're more than happy to talk with you about that. So, without further ado, we got some ARAs. We got some really good ARAs this week. We touch on almost every major sport, I feel like, this week. So let's get it going. What's up? Absurd or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we dive right into basketball. That's right. That's where we're starting. And you're wondering why we're leading off with basketball, because it also concerns the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. Minnesota Timberwolves forward Kyle Anderson will be set to be representing China in the FIBA World Cup as he developed his citizenship, his Chinese citizenship, through naturalization. The 29-year-old forward from New York is going to be gaining Chinese nationality through naturalization and be the first basketball player to do so as well. So he'll be representing China in the Basketball World Cup, which is going to be going on here in the next month, as teams have been slowly but surely being selected for that group, as well as the World Cup will be playing for in the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia as well. But with Kyle Anderson set to being playing for China, do you think this is absurd or approved that Anderson will be able to make that next step in his game by playing for China in the World Cup coming up here later this summer?
I think it'll help his game. I don't see why it wouldn't. I also want to think too that people look at him as the guy that comes off the bench and has a couple good games and fills in pretty nicely and whatnot. But Kyle Anderson, I think, is a good piece for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Him playing for China, I think, is going to enhance his skills. If he can make that next step, that'd be great. And I think that it'll benefit the Wolves even more so. They've got, they got some young talent now, too, obviously, with the guys that they drafted, with Clark and Miller. There's a lot to be said through that, and it's also nice because hopefully, obviously, the only concern that I have is if he gets injured or something like that. But right. In my opinion, I would say that he's I think he can, and I think playing. The more you play, the better. I think Gobert's playing with France, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So, I mean, those guys will be kind of, it's like, oh, do they get tired or anything? No, I don't think so. I think they want. I mean, if they thought they were going to be too tired, I mean, they wouldn't have gone, right?
Right.
So it's got my stamp of approval. I think he can, get to that next level. Obviously, he has the right temperament. But if it's between him and Rudy Gobert, I mean, I guess you got to pick a side. But I had to throw that in there. It's too funny.
Yep.
But stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
I think this will be, something to keep our eye on as well as we head into the start of the NBA season 2. Of course, you do have, Rudy Gobert playing for France. Naz Reid got selected on the initial roster for Team USA as well. Then you throw Anderson with Team China, which for people that are wondering about the naturalization, apparently it's reported that his maternal grandmother was born in Jamaica to a Chinese father and a Jamaican mother. So he is, I think, 1/4 Chinese. I think that's how that works, if my math serves me correct. But nonetheless, talking about, I think this will be this will offer that opportunity to improve his game and at least give him a chance to maybe work on some things as well while making that next step. Because obviously we know that the Timberwolves are going to need some help here, especially with the lack of roster and lack of depth in certain positions. If you have Anderson play at this international level too, because obviously the best players are going to be playing for the best teams, whether they be in the NBA or overseas as well. These guys are definitely not going to be any slouches that you're playing at 24-hour fitness or whatever. These guys can play some ball. So I think with Anderson playing for China, I don't think they're going to win the World Cup, but I think they'll certainly give Anderson the opportunity to get a lot more of those NBA style reps and especially play against some of the best players in the world. So
I think, I mean, it can only help. I just hope that he's not working on his right hooks or anything like that. Yeah. So we'll see. Next one, Poldy.
So we head to the world of the NFL, and finally it has come through that the NFL owners approved the $6 billion sale of the Washington football franchise, the Commanders. That was previously held by one Daniel Snyder, now going to be led by a group that is led by Josh Harris, also in the mix of that ownership group. Magic Johnson's in that ownership group as well. $6.05 billion. Of course, that is a record sum for a North American sports franchise, as this will now usher in a new era. Once again, as Harris, who originally is from the D.C. area, and of course will be taking over the leadership role in that for that group that will control the Commanders' future as well. But there have also been rumblings with this new ownership group, and of course the rebranding that took place in recent years. Maybe that rebranding will be rebranded once again. But talking about the first part of this story here, there, DJ Matty C, is that is it absurd or approved? Will the sale of the commies push them into a new direction? And also, second part of that question, will they get a new name with this new ownership group that's taking over?
I want to take a moment to finally say he's gone. He is gone. Daniel Snyder is officially out of here. Goodbye. See ya. What a POS. And you can interpret that however you want. But it finally happened. I'm happy that we don't have to deal with that psychopath anymore. But he is still on the infamous list because we can do that. And to answer your question, I feel like I feel like they have to. If you're going to move on, you got to do things differently. And not saying that you change the organization, you get rid of Ron Rivera and everyone on the team. No, you build something. Well, first of all, you got to build a healthy work environment for one, especially with all the stuff that has happened with Daniel Snyder there in charge. But now you have an opportunity to kind of, look at it in a different view. And you have people that maybe even want to fix that stupid field that they have there. That's one thing that they can start figuring out. So that's something to factor in. I think it will push them in a new direction. Will they get a new name? It sounds like they want to change the name again.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about that. I think that if you are able to, if you're able to change the name, some people like it. I think a lot more people don't like it than they do like it. So that's kind of being factored in there. But I'd say that them changing the name, I wouldn't be surprised. Should it happen? Sure. If it doesn't, I'm not gonna, like be pissed or anything like that. It is what it is. But I think they are gonna get a new name. I think they want to wash what was with Dansnyder out. Goodbye. See ya. So, stamp of approval all around. I think Harris and obviously Magic Johnson's part of that group. I think we're going to see a new team name again. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I think this is definitely going to be a step in the right direction because right even after the official sale came through as well, the ownership group with Harris as well even went in and became a minority shareholder of Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs, obviously the legendary football coach for the Washington football franchise in previous years where they won Super Bowls with that. So already trying to get on the good side of past players and coaches, which will in turn get on the good side of fans as well. Of course, they're no strangers to owning ownership groups because Harris, along with his partner David Blitzer, they own the 76ers, New Jersey Devils as well, and is also a general partner for Crystal Palace FC in the English Premier League. So they're definitely no strangers to running top franchises in sports as well. But the NFL is a whole different beast in itself. I think it'll definitely push it in the right direction. To how long do we see some of these changes with obviously maybe a new stadium? Do they get a new name? What do they do about some of the other parts as well that have been kind of black eyes of the Washington football franchise in recent years, maybe since the turn of the century? We'll have to wait and see. I think that hopefully the product over these next couple of years with this new group really comes to light as well, because it's not like the Commanders are, on the outs right now. I mean, they certainly had a couple of decent runs in recent years with them. If they stay fully healthy, if they commit to certain players as well, Chase Young coming back, hopefully off that knee injury that he had last season, Taylor Heineke that did some wonders for the team over the last couple of years, got them into the playoffs as well a couple of years ago, certainly did help them push themselves to the forefront. But I think with a new name and everything, that's really going to help put that last little bits of Dan Snyder and fully get rid of that off that team that's been sorely needing something positive in at least in the last 20 plus years, because they've had a rough go of things, especially with everything that they've tried to do. So I think it's got my stamp of approval on both fronts.
Well, just to add to that, Taylor Heineke is actually with the Falcons now. He is backing up.
I know.
Oh, yeah, you did. Oh, okay, gotcha.
I knew that.
But Sam Howell will be starting quarterback for the Commanders, which is interesting in itself. I don't know.
I gotta look at that depth chart. I could have swore there was somebody else there that was notable. It's like, we're trying to make the pitch that Cam Newton should be in Washington, just because it's an opportunity there, and he could very well be a starter if Sam Howell starts sucking. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, with the opening of NFL training camps here this week, and especially with some of them going to be going here with practices and everything, well, looks like the Carolina Panthers have decided to go ahead and take away any of the mystery or any of the questions with their quarterback starting here for the foreseeable future. Rookie quarterback Bryce Young has been moved up to first team past with the offseason workouts leading into the start of training camp, as he is going to be quarterback number one, according to head coach Frank Reich, who is taking over first-year head coach for the franchise as well. Of course, he will be looked after by Andy Dalton, who will be serving as backup for him in that role as well. But certainly going to be just right off the bat taking any mystery out of it as well. But with, of course, the start of training camp and also the start of the season coming up, is it absurd or prove the Panthers will have a 500 or better record in 2023 with Bryce Young starting at quarterback?
When you put this up there, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, they've got some nice pieces. I mean, they're not awful. They're not you add Adam Thielen, which in itself is pretty good. You add some weapons for Bryce Young. Here, I don't think that they'll have anything above 500. And the reason why I say that is because I think there's still some pieces that they need. I mean, you trade pretty much your whole franchise with McCaffrey, but you know that you're kind of starting over and whatnot. But at the same time, Deontay Foreman had a good year last year. They're no slouches, I'll say that. But I believe Bryce Young can get them to 500 at best. Anything above that, I think, would probably be absurd, just because I believe that they're a team that is going to they're a team that's going to maybe cause a little bit of noise, maybe kind of surprise a couple teams, but I just think that there's still a lot of things that they need to take care of, especially with their defense as well. They're not the same defense they were back in, 2015 when they were on that really good run, and even before that. So they're it's kind of a wait and see thing, but I think at best they'll get to 500. I don't think they're going to win the division, unfortunately, in the division with the Aints. The Buccaneers will probably take a little bit of a dive as well. The Falcons, jury's out on them too, so we'll see. But I'd say they can get to 500. That's what I'll put it at. Anything above 500, I'd say absurd. But stamp of approval, I think that they can get to 500 if they go on a nice little run at the end of the season. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Or at the beginning. We'll see. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Well, looking at their schedule that they have, they're obviously the NFC South. They play their 6 games out of there with their divisional opponents, and then you also have matched up this year. They're matched up with the AFC South, which is a very questionable division at years and points as well. So you get those 4 games against the AFC South. You could very easily get 2 or 3 wins out of those matchups too. But looking at their schedule to start off, they go to Atlanta, then they go they're at home against New Orleans, Monday Night Football, then they go to Seattle, they host Minnesota, at Detroit, at Miami, then they have their bye week in week 7. Week 8, they're at home against Houston, at home against Indy, hit the road against Chicago for week 10, against Dallas week 11. Then you got 3 straight road games at Tennessee, at Tampa, at New Orleans before being home week 15 against Atlanta. Then you finish off the last 3 weeks of the season, Christmas Eve against Green Bay in Green Bay. Ugh. Then you get at Jacksonville on New Year's Eve, and then you get Tampa Bay to close out the season at home as well. 500 is a very realistic goal for them. I think, 500 is going to be the bar for them. If they can get above 500, they're going to need a lot of help in certain regards with that too. But if they get at least 2 or 3 wins out of that AFC South matchups as well, that's going to be a pure bonus for them. I think in the division, it's kind of a toss-up. If I had to pick a division winner for the NFC South, I would probably say New Orleans this year. I don't know why. I'm just going to go with it. I think they just have more together with that group that they have in New Orleans. Everybody's healthy and everybody makes plays like they should. Defense kind of stands out above everybody else. I think they certainly have something to work with there. But for Carolina, they go 500. I think they're definitely going to be playing with house money on that. So I think 500 is the standard that they're going to be reaching for here for this year. Above 500, I think it's going to be absurd.
All right. Couldn't agree more. All right. Next one, Voldy.
Yep. Well, one thing that's been a bit of a misnomer in recent years, especially in the hockey world, is the last Olympics that unfortunately hasn't been the same. Last couple Olympics, I should say, hasn't been the same without the use of NHL players. I know in recent years that's been a bit of a pain in the rear, especially since the 2014 games in Russia. After that, no NHL players, at least prominent NHL players, were playing for their countries to represent in the Olympics. But looks like the new Players Association and executive director, former mayor of the city of Boston, Marty Walsh, says he's focused on getting NHL players back into the Winter Olympics for the 2026 Milano Cortina Games that will be taking place in Italy. Of course, Italy has previously held the Winter Olympics in the last, I think, 25 years or so. I know they held it sometime in the 90s. Might have been early 2000s. Maybe, I can't remember. It was a while ago. But nonetheless, NHL hasn't been in the Olympics for men's ice hockey since the 2014 Olympics. Of course, they've used players that have played, maybe small roles with some of their NHL franchises. I know that Jordan Greenway represented Team USA in the Olympics some years ago as well. But having them back with the Olympics, especially, it provides a little bit of excitement, also provides opportunity to, for some of the players to play for their countries as well. But do you think it'd be absurd or approved that with the NHL, should NHL players be able to play in the Olympics if this deal should come through in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any problems with it. I think if the guys want to play, let them play, right? And it's kind of, it's been a while, to say the least. And yeah. I just feel like it's time to get back to that because a lot of people really look forward to it. USA, Canada. I mean, that's the one everyone likes to see. And I think they got to get back to that. I mean, there's no reason why you can't. With the Olympics, like you said, being in Italy and Milan. Ooh, Milano. Dang, that's pretty sweet. I think the guys want to play. Let them play. It seems like Bettman's on board, which is usually surprising for some. But I mean, if you get Olympic hockey back, you're going to make a lot of people happy. So I'd say stamp of approval. Let's get it going, man. I want to see it happen. 2026. Let's go. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Even with having the NHL being involved with the Olympics as well, it also provides that chance for that break in the schedule as well, that 2-week stretch where guys can get healthy. They can, have a little time off in the middle of the season as well to get rested up, have some time with family and friends while some guys are playing, of course, in the Olympics as well. Last two Winter Olympics, you had 2022 in Beijing, then you had 2018 in North Korea. So, a lot of NHL guys probably didn't want to do that basically because it was going to be more headaches than what it was worth. Obviously, you look back at some of the success of the Olympics too, with 2010, especially Vancouver. It was an NHL city, so a lot of guys really wanted to play in that because, a lot of guys are familiar with that and be able to play for your country, play in an NHL city, and, at least some familiar surroundings. Of course, you go to North Korea and then you go to China as well. Not exactly NHL cities or thralling hockey communities over there. But I also like the fact, of course, their focus is on the Olympics, but also trying to bring back the hockey World Cup as well, the World Cup of Hockey tournament as well. That was fairly successful back in 2016. It hasn't been hosted since. Obviously, it was going to be in 2020, but we all know what happened in 2020. Don't want to talk about it anymore, but it looks like there are plans in February of 2024 to host it. There were plans, but then with the Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, that put everything back on the back burner for that. So thanks again, Russia, for ruining everybody's fun whatsoever. But talking about the side of the Olympics as well, I think it's a huge benefit not only for NHL players, it's for the league, for franchises as well as the game of hockey as well, because I know that a lot of these players, of course, they don't get as much international exposure as they probably should, and should rightly be so, because of the fact that, the NHL in recent years has really tried to make the global series where they play special games overseas as well. I know that there's going to be special ones coming up here this season. Arizona, Los Angeles, the Kings, they're going to be playing in Australia of all places. The Red Wings, the Wild, including the Senators and the Maple Leafs, are going to be playing in Sweden this year. Of course, in recent, years ago, they played in Sweden, they played in Finland, they played in the Czech Republic as well, now Czechia as well. But I think really trying to expand the game is only going to be helped by having the NHL players play for their native countries as well is really going to help expand the game a little bit more, especially with some of those big names that you see from from the NHL play for their countries as well, and just see those guys have that chance to play for their country is going to be even much better too.
Yeah, keep an eye out for it. Let's make it happen. All right, last one, Voldy.
So we stick with the world of hockey on this one, and we know that in recent weeks, upcoming seasons, we talked about the addition of an in-season tournament. The NHL put any light of that happening whatsoever pretty much to bed, as Deputy Commissioner Bill Daley told the media as well that the NHL has no reason, is not looking into adding an in-season tournament like the NBA like to its regular season schedule as well. Of course, the NBA did announce that they will be having a European Cup style competition in-season tournament coming up as the season comes into it, with teams being able to be compensated financially for winning, as well as playing in that playing for that in-season tournament. The NHL's already convoluted and crazy enough to begin with, so they already said, yeah, we're not going to be following the NBA on this one, and saying that there has not yet been any discussion among players to having an in-season tournament. Like the last story you talked about, they're already focused on bringing back the World Cup. They're already trying to focus and get back into the Olympics as well. But is it absurd or approved? Do you think the NHL should consider looking at an in-season tournament for years ahead?
I'm going to say this without conviction. No, just don't do it. This in-season stuff that people have been talking about, I'm glad that they're not considering, because I just think it's ridiculous for the NBA. And adding that to an NHL season, like, participation trophy, here you go.
Yep, you tried hard.
Why it doesn't make any sense. And I think even with the NHL too, I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, what do you get out of it? Oh, look, it's more eyes to our product. No, this isn't bringing eyes. It's just boring people, because it's like, oh, you won this thing. Oh, wonderful. So I just think it's a stupid idea, and it seems like the NHL's not considering it right now, but hopefully that, unless it's an idea that just blows everyone away and everyone's like, oh my God, like this is the greatest thing ever, I don't think right now it's a good idea, and I'm glad that the NHL's doing that, but with the NBA, it's just dumb. In-season tournaments, stupid. I'm just leaving it like that. So I think it's absurd. If the NFL starts doing that, I'm done. It's just a money grab. So
really
that's what I'll put it as. So, but I'm glad that the NHL is too. So it's got my stamp of approval that they're not doing it. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I would almost guarantee if David Stern, God rest his soul, was still alive, that an in-season tournament for the NHL would be happening. Why is that? Because David Stern and Gary Bettman, both commissioners, very buddy. They were thick as thieves when they were both running the show as well. Of course, David Stern, the NBA, and of course, Gary Bettman, still the commissioner for the National Hockey League as well. I would almost guarantee that David Stern would be in Gary Bettman's ear and be like, no, you got to do this. This could be a moneymaker. It's going to be a quick turnaround, quick cash grab, and you'll be able to make much more for the game and for the league as well. But with that being said, I don't know to the same level of friendliness between Gary Bettman and Adam Silver. Maybe not even with Bill Daley and Adam Silver, because they were both deputy commissioners at one time at that same level. But I think even having the consideration of an in-season tournament is probably stupid to begin with as well. NHL season is long enough to begin with. You have that break in between, with, of course, an Olympic break as well. At least the hopes of having that Olympic break for the NHL season, and have those guys playing internationally for a gold medal is going to be more worth than having some other piece of hardware that isn't going to really mean much if it's not Lord Stanley's Cup to begin with. So I think it's completely absurd. I don't think the NHL should be considering an in-season tournament at all.
No in-season tournaments. That's all.
Nope.
It's just no. We're not doing that. Screw that.
Nope, not doing it.
Nope. But anyway, great job with not Shield Shoutout. That's coming up. Great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. And Shield Shoutouts. We got some people to shout out this week, so let's just get right into it with some Shield Shoutouts.
Shield Shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, yesterday was a bit of a weird day overall, but unfortunately the career of one amazing hockey player that I had grown up watching came to an end with the retirement of Bruins longtime center and even this past season captain for the Boston Bruins. Patrice Bergeron announced his retirement, 19 seasons, all with the Boston Bruins as well. Of course, notable career, multi-time All-Star. Was 2011 Stanley Cup champion with the Bruins, won 6 Selke trophies in his time with the Bruins as well, multiple playoff appearances, all-star game appearances as well, a pillar in the community for community work and activism work as well for Patrice Bergeron, who came into the league, which is actually a funny story as well, how he ended up in Boston as well, because the way it used to be with, compensatory picks as well, I think the Boston Bruins and Patrice Bergeron need to actually tip their cap to Bill Guerin of all people, because Bill Guerin was a member of the Boston Bruins for the 2002-2003 season. After he signs an off-season deal, the Bruins were awarded a compensatory pick. That compensatory pick turned out to be Patrice Bergeron. So Bill Guerin is basically the reason why Patrice Bergeron was drafted out of Quebec, and stayed so long with the Bruins in his career as well. So with that all being said, we do wish Patrice Bergeron the best of luck in his retirement as well. And well, that's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
Well, a special Shield shout. I mean, 19 seasons. Yeah. That's impressive. That's all with one team.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sweet. So, great job with Shield Shoutouts this week, and that's pretty much does it for this episode 157. Like we said, keep in tune on the socials medias. I will be posting some stuff from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Taking a little bit of video and whatnot. So I have a short video that we'll post at some point as I put it all together. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see it. There's going to be a lot of Hall of Fame busts that I'd like to see as well. Vikings, non-Vikings as well. A lot that can be learned there at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So we'll make sure that I will keep you guys up to date. So we will keep you up to date on that. But without further ado, it's hot outside. You don't want to do too much, but maybe you want some merch. Maybe you want some awesome merch. We have our stickers. They are brand spanking new. They're available, small ones, $2, big ones, $3, you know the deal. Very cheap, or if you want to wait till pick'em season, you never know who could win one. So we'll keep you up to date on that. And we got shirts. We have the limited edition shirts still available. That is $20, $5 shipping, and it's an extra large. So if you want someone that wants it, let us know. And we have the regular shirts as well. 5 out of 5 stars. You know the deal. $20, $5 shipping. So, with that being said, thank you to National Fleet Graphic. Thank you to Crown Rental Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And make sure you check out W2 Performance. Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. Make sure you check out his YouTube page as swell. So there's a lot of cool stuff that he's dealing with. The victorious P.O.D. Fantasy Football is coming soon with Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers, so make sure you check out all their cool stuff. And then make sure you check out TLS Performance, our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr. He's got stuff on his Instas. Make sure you check him out. And then Popcorn Bucket List. They just had a new one with the big movie Oppenheimer coming out. They did the top Chris Nolan movies from his career and whatnot. So make sure you check that out. Nick Dahlhoff, Ryan Myhrberg, Omni Entertainment, all that fun stuff. So make sure you check that out as well. So they're doing a lot over there too. So that's going to do it. 157. Episode 157. We're approaching 160 slowly but surely. So there'll be a lot to get people caught up on. Yeah. And training camp started up, and now we're getting into the thick of it. It's the very early stages, but we'll keep you up to date with everything. So we're really looking forward to it. But without further ado, Voldy, Zoners, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.